We're into the second half of the 2011 FIA World Touring Car Championship. Rounds 13 and 14 at Donington Park in Great Britain, right in the heart of the industrial Midlands of the English countryside. And for the first time ever, the World Touring Car Championship comes to this Parkland circuit, a pre-war 1930s Grand Prix track that saw the might of Auto Union taking on the best of the Brits and triumphing. And since it has been rejuvenated by the late Tom Wheatcroft in the late 1970s, it has been one of Britain's premier international racing circuits. It's one that's familiar to many British fans of touring car racing because it's always been a favourite with the British Touring Car Championship. And as a result, the drivers in the field that have raced in that series, Ivan Muller, Colin Turkington, Gabriele Tarquini, Alain Menu and the like, know it well. For everybody else, though, it is a first-time appearance. A man that knows it well as well, sitting alongside me, British Touring Car Champion Matt Neal. And Matt, just as we were coming up to the booth, it went from dry to a sprinkle of rain. It has been declared a wet race. The question for the drivers and the teams now is, which way are we going to go? It looks as though the drizzle has already stopped, in which case slicks are your only option, but it just sets the scene for a bit of a tough weekend on tyre choice.
Yeah, hi Martin. Yeah, it's business as usual with a Chevy lockout at the front of the grid, but with prospects of a very exciting race. With what the weather's going to give us today, it is changing minute on minute. We're going from drizzle to a bit of rain, then back to normal, and if you're in the front half of the grid, it's your worst nightmare. Second half of the grid, it's absolutely happy Christmas, because suddenly you've got a few curveballs and you can make some progress.
We're looking here at our championship entry list, led by the reigning champion Ivan Muller, and the new entry, as we have the return of Fabio Fabiani in his regular pro team car. The new entry this weekend comes up on page 3, Colin Turkington. Of course, he's not new either to the championship or to British fans. He's raced in the championship before on a number of occasions, and of course a former British touring car champion as well. So an awful lot of the fans packing the hillsides here at Donington Park will know Turks and be looking for something special from him, because he's managed to produce those every time he's appeared with the Dick Bennett's Run West Surrey BMWs. This time, though, he's in the Vika Sport car, and again in practice produced a good lap that leaves him on row 3 of the grid. Our championship points leader and the man who's the focus of all the attention this weekend, it's his home race. Rob Huff doesn't come from Leicestershire, comes from near Newmarket, so it's not too far away for the family to travel from Cambridgeshire. But Huff with a now near 30-point advantage over Ivan Muller, his closest rival. And after disappointment last time out, Alain Menu drops to 60 points adrift. Everyone else really battling for the minor positions, Matt. It's now at the sort of situation where there's no question that the Chevrolet drivers will win the championship, and it is now between the 3 of them to sort out which one of them it will be.
That's right. I mean, Menu's 60 points back, but he is definitely not out of the title hunt, and Alain won't give up until it's mathematically impossible. It's going to be very, very interesting, and we're into the second half of the season, watching the internal politics, because there are definitely no team orders there. I mean, we've seen that from the racing so far, and they're very prominent that they are not going to introduce any team orders. So each of those guys knows that they've got a 30% chance of being world champion this year.
Yeah.
And all 3 drivers are fiercely competitive, and it's where a little bit of luck comes into play, a bit of gambling, and Huffy's been doing it all right so far.
He has indeed. Ivan Muller, though, was the man that set the best lap time in qualifying 2, despite having a Larry off, because it went from damp to drier. He had a very lurid moment at Coppice, a classic Ivan Muller save of a massive tail slide, but he had just enough time to clean the tyres up and get across the line to start one last flyer, and pipped Rob Huff to pole. Their final times, Ivan Muller set a 1:38.4, Rob a 38.5, so there was only 81 thousandths of a second between them, and that's really the gap that there's been between any of the Chevy drivers. They've all got the pace to beat their teammates, and it's combining that pace with consistency, and as you said, Matt, that little sprinkling of luck, and that is often going to be the only difference between 2 really top flight drivers in really top flight cars.
Yeah, and I mean, they've all got a championship to go for, so I mean, the interesting thing today is we've got Montero in 4th in the Seat with absolutely nothing to lose. He knows he knows that the Chevy drivers know he's got nothing to lose. So he's a loose cannon on deck. And then you've got Turkington back in 5th place.
Yep.
And a phenomenal performance. First time in the BMW Turbo car this year. And he's the quickest BMW in qualifying.
Yep.
Circuit, local knowledge is important, we know, but I mean, he has done a stellar job in that, and you've got to take your hat off to not just him, but to the team as well.
We've just been watching the highlights of qualifying from yesterday, which saw Gabriele Tarquini missing the cut on the top 10. There's Yukinori Taniguchi, obviously. I think we can probably guess which team he's supporting in tonight Women's World Cup final, Japan versus the USA at 8:45 this evening. And
I was going to say that girl's better at football than I am.
Yeah, well, she didn't get selected for either Japan or the USA, and clearly not for Great Britain either. But that will be on later this evening. And
so which team is Taniguchi supporting then?
I've got to imagine it's Japan, I would think. There are our Yokohama trophy points. Norbert Mikulis in the BMW, leading that by the slenderest of margins at the moment. While the brief drizzle that swept across this particular few square kilometres Leicestershire has disappeared. You can see Mikko Nukia's car. Nukia starting in 9th place on the grid, and he will have alongside him Gabriele Tarquini, another of the turbo Seats, the Leon now of course with a 1.6 litre full cylinder petrol engine rather than the turbo diesels they've been campaigning for the last 3 seasons. So they, like every other car on the grid, with the sole exception of Fabio Fabiani, now with the brand new world engine regulations. Grid girls are heading back to somewhere that's not quite as perishing, windy and drizzly. God bless them, it's not an enviable job. And here in 8th place on the grid, Tom Coronel. Best result this season, he's had a couple of 2nd places, and Matt Neal, if it stays dry, the BMW has got a chance of doing something. If it goes wet, though, the rear drive car doesn't keep the heat in the tyres as well as the front drives do, and it'll struggle. There's girlfriend Pauline Sparks. She's here this weekend with their daughter. She's not got a race herself this weekend, but the BMWs really need to pray for dry, because they just get a little bit more disadvantaged than anybody else by cool, wet conditions.
They also, with the hairpins on the first lap, they struggle getting the heat, even though they've got tyre warmers, so that the tyres are fully up to temp. They struggle getting the heat into those front tyres, and can be a bit vulnerable on the first lap, where the front wheel drives can just get in there, nail it, and then they've got all the heat and they've got all the braking and the traction. They can fire out and get alongside them.
Well, we saw Engsler and Coronel in 8th and 7th place on the grid. They're not the best BMW. British fans, you might be unsurprised to find out who is. Just in front of them, though, 6th on the race 1 grid, and I think he's starting in 6th in the race 2 grid as well, is Daolo Young. Now, his Bamboo Engineering crews, he was all at sea, literally and metaphorically here, during the wet free practice. He just could not get his head around Donington Park at all. As you know, Matt, it's very low grip when it's wet. I mean, it's not the highest, grippiest track when it's dry, but it immediately becomes very low grip. However, in qualifying, with really no dry running to speak of on his first time here, he pulled out a rip-snorting lap to go into 6th position for both races. So he's done a great job. And Colin Turkington too, all right, he's got the advantage. He knows the track. He's used to sequential shifting BMWs, because that's what he raced and won in the British Touring Car Championship with. But for him, the big challenge is this 1.6 litre turbo motor, and particularly in 5 minutes' time, getting it cleanly, in through a rolling start, and for race 2 away from a standing start as well. It's a different beast. And again, as you know from your Honda experience, going from normally aspirated to the turbo motor, it takes time of learning.
Yeah, I actually think that the turbo route, they are easier to drive. They've got more torque, they can help you out in the corners, where with the normally aspirated, you've got to keep them buzzing, and you've got to be in the real sweet spot for the engine at all the time. So maybe the job was made a little bit easier for Turks that he's coming this way on the transition rather than the other way, but still he's done a really impressive job this weekend, and it'd be nice to see if we could get him out for a few more races this year.
Absolutely, I'm sure he would love it as much as we would. Well, the front of the grid, as you can see, dominated by blue sweatshirts, blue hats, blue cars. Thiago Montero, the first non-Chevy, he lines up in 4th place, and alongside him is Alain Menu. Don't forget, race 1 is a rolling start, so they'll come round the Melbourne loop and then out of Goddard's, hopefully 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Quite a long run up to the start line as well, so hopefully the grid will be nicely in crocodile file.
It's interesting, we're just seeing Menu back in third place, because he's in third place on the points now.
Yeah.
You look at the psychology of it all, and Menu really has got nothing to lose. He's got to start finishing in front of the other two on a regular basis, and to do that, he's got to start taking a few risks, especially starting behind them on the grid. So it's going to be, you know, I would like to see Alain really pushing forward and starting to hassle the, you know, to Rob and Ivan, and,
yeah.
and you know, start to see some of the, what could be unfold.
If they were drivers, if the top three were in 3 different makes, as we've had over a number of different seasons, then you would expect your car to have an advantage at some tracks, maybe disadvantaged versus one or other of your rivals at other tracks. But when you're all in the same machine, if the Chevy's bad somewhere, it's bad for all of you. Not that it is, but you know, if it's good somewhere, it's good for all of you. So yeah, there's no advantages being handed around. You've got to capitalise from within every time. And you know, we look at Porto, he had a really strong qualifying run, really good first race in Porto, but he needs, you know, 2 good races every weekend to try and rein in Yvan Muller, the pole man, and Rob Huff, the championship leader.
Pace car.
On board with our championship leader, Rob Huff. He has a near weekend lead over Alain Menu, a 1-race lead over his closest rival, a man who starts in front of him, Yvan Muller. Now we are races 13 and 14 of the 24-race championship. We are into the second half of the season, but at this stage, Matt Neal, there is no mileage at all if you want to be a champion in saying, I'm not going to take that risk, I'm going to stay in second. It is still vital to get every single point you can get.
Oh gosh, yeah, I mean, Rob's he's being very cool with his persona at the moment, walking around saying, right, now it's on about collecting points, and I think that's almost a little bit of psychology against the other two, and he's going to be absolutely, look at how dark those clouds are there. They do seem quite high at the moment, but we can definitely see rain in the distance.
Yeah, over towards Nottingham, they're getting very wet.
I think there's almost a little bit of psychology there, trying to wind Ivan up and Alain up, but they're 2 seasoned campaigners, Muller and Menu, and you know, neither of them are going to go down without a fight.
No, absolutely right, absolutely right. And you know, and there is the greatest prize in touring car racing at stake for Ivan. It would be a triple world championship were he to win it, which would equal Andy Prio's record, or with Colin Turkington.
Well, Ivan's not used to being beaten by his teammate, is he?
No.
It doesn't get down very well in Ivan's book.
Happened when he was beaten by Tarquini most recently, but then fought back and won last year's title. The cars are coming around the Melbourne Loop, around to Goddard's, the final corner on the lap. They will come, led and paced by our poleman Yvan Muller. The leading car beetles off out of the way. Hopefully there won't be an awful lot of drama for our safety car driver to sort out. With the Tricolore of France on the roof, Yvan Muller on the outside as we look at it, on the right-hand side there. And on the inside is Rob Huff. Now the inside line to the first right-hander would be the defensive line, the outside, the aggressive line. As we wait, they roll up to the start at around 80 kilometres an hour, and here we go. There's already contact there, 3 wide. Daryl O'Young, Tom Coronel trying to come alongside him between Michael Nukia and Franz Engsler, and it is Muller from Huff, and inside is Menu. Huff gets a tap from Montero. So far everybody all in one piece. Huff has been shuffled back to third behind Menu. Somebody's off on the dirt on the outside, one of the Pro Team BMWs, I think maybe Banani, and it looks as though we've got an entire complement of cars coming down. Oh my goodness, Turkington's been whittled off and is flying down the inside of the Craner curves. He'll try and find some way of getting the car straightened up and rejoining in the middle of the top half dozen, 8th or 9th, and up the inside of him goes Christian Poulsen and Pepe Oriola. Dramatic moment. It would have been an awful lot more dramatic in the rain, and that's Thiago Montero being passed by Gabriele Tarquini, who is now up to 4th place.
From 10th.
From 10th on the grid. Tarquini, told you yesterday, that boy can start a car like nobody else in this championship.
He's obviously had a few espressos this morning.
Blimey, Muller, Huff back in front of Menu. Must have been out of the old hairpin because we were watching the grass and didn't see the grey. Down into the new Fogarty's S's. This is pushed back about 50 metres from where the brake onto the Melbourne loop was. Sweeping around the left-hander, over the brow, down into the braking area, and Matt Muller really under pressure now. He's going to have to fight very hard for this one. Bang, bang, bang. They're all getting into each other, but that doesn't help anybody.
Tarquini's going to love watching this because it's going to leave any opportunity. He's going to be inside them. But they are, the braking is a phenomenal thing, and it's going to become an issue later on in the race. They are decelerating from 6th to around about 2nd gear, and about 140 to about 30 mile an hour in under 2 seconds. So it's very marginal.
As the leader turns into Redgate for the 2nd time, Montero is crawling around at the back of the field. So something's gone wrong with Thiago Montero's car. He's dropped right down the order. Didn't run in testing on Friday because of an electrical issue. And it looks as though maybe the gremlins have returned. Muller leads, a little lock-up into the old hairpin, and it's Menu who's under pressure. We're with 5th place man Tom Coronel, and Tarquini's looking for a way by urgently to stop Muller and Huff getting away. Montero's going back into the garage. I don't think it's a puncture. I don't think it's a breakage. I do think it's an electrical issue probably. And there is Tarquini in that Lukoil Seat, and you can see the contact as he just rubbed the back bumper of Menu coming out of the Melbourne hairpin. Here's Turkington up the inside of Oriola, and that is a change for 9th place for Turks. He goes through as we ride on board with Robert Dahlgren, 11th from 19th in one lap.
That's very impressive. Well, he did show stellar speed in the morning warm-up this morning. He's on the back of Turks.
Here they come. Turkington with Oriola tucking in behind the 17-year-old, and the Volvo is very quick and really picks off the corner as well. Look how quick Dahlgren got onto the throttle there. That car has got genius traction straight up the inside of Oriola, and it's pick a line, any line down into the hairpin here when you're racing wheel to wheel with somebody. That's Darrell O'Young in the middle of that, so he's got shuffled down from 6th to 12th place. We saw Turkington get nerfed off onto the grass by contact, and I think maybe something similar might have happened to O'Young.
Yeah, Darrell just gently trying to squeeze him onto the grass and loosen his grip, but Dahlgren's got a serious amount of front end on that Volvo, and that should be able to start paying him dividends as the front tyres start to wear as the race goes on. He could really come to him.
Freddie Bart, car number 7, tucked up behind the yellow and orange machine of Darrell O'Young. They both go by Pepe Oriola, as Robert Dahlgren has. Oriola in 74, the white and blue Seat is struggling. He's now got Mehdi Benani and Javi Villa behind, and in which order? I think Villa, the Spaniard, has got back by Benani, but Villa from 15th is climbing back up the order, so he had got sorted out in a kerfuffle somewhere. Muller, the fastest man on track, was leading by half a second from Huff at the beginning of this lap. I don't think that gap's going to grow much as we see the 2 Danes and the Ulsterman battling here. This is Nukia Paulsen that we're riding with, and behind him is Turkington. This is 7th, 8th and 9th. It's also top 3 in the independent behind Franz Engstler, who's the white BMW on its own there, just cresting the rise.
Yeah, Muller's putting in another ultra-fast lap. I mean, there's nothing between all 3 Chevy drivers, but Muller has really got the hammer down, and he's trying to make some air now.
Engstler's really pushing on hard through those S's as well. The Chevys are starting to run away. Menu has shaken off Tarquini, who's now got to worry about Coronel for best of the rest trophy. Not that such a thing exists. Dahlgren's down the inside of Turkington. Done deal. That move was clean and clinical, and we know he's got the traction off the corners perhaps to stay in front of the BMW, and he might be looking at Engstler as well before halfway round this lap. Dahlgren and Turkington there, the blue Volvo and the white and Dayglow orange of Turkington's BMW. That is a change then for 9th place. Dahlgren up, Turkington down. Turning into the first corner, Turkington right up behind Robert Dahlgren as he goes into Redgate, but through Hollywood and down the Craner curves. Look in the background, you can see the blue Volvo just pulling away. It's a couple of car lengths, Matt, there, just through those opening 2 or 3 corners.
That Volvo does look very impressive. It's such a shame we haven't got 2 of them this weekend with Tomo and the other one, because I mean, Dahlgren should have been up there, but he had a rough run in qualifying and some bad luck. And it's a shame he's going to be starting at the back for both races, because it would have been really interesting seeing him start in the top 6.
That blue and black Seat of Pepe Oriola is dropping like a stone. He's now behind Yukinori Taniguchi in 17th. Yuke is in 16th place. As we watch Coronel, who's got in front of Tarquini. That's the change for 4th, and Gabrielli trying to come back at him. But the BMW looking pretty strong here. He has had a couple of second places this year, but Coronel yet to have the opportunity to take a win. Race 2 grid will see him start in 3rd place, so he might have a bit more of an opportunity then.
I'll tell you what, Martin, it's getting exciting at the front again. I mean, Muller's got the hammer down to try and make some air, but Huffy is gone with him.
Dahlgren again, the Swede inside, one of his fellow Scandinavians. That's Poulsen. He's passing for 8th place. He'll have to go the long way around the outside. Poulsen breaks late. That means he'll miss the apex and come out wide behind Nukia. Can't get on the gas the way he wants to. Also holding up the Volvo, and as a result, Turkington's just chafing away at that bumper as he comes out.
Look at that Volvo. That's got some squirt up the straight.
It's not hanging about, is it? Tomo hasn't yet raced with the 1.6 turbo engine. He's still got the Super 2005 cylinder, which sounds glorious, but it must be giving away power to this 1.6 turbo that Polestar have made.
I mean, looked incredibly strong compared to the BMW on a like-for-like basis.
Very good traction, good power delivery as well. Dahlgren, again, one of the few drivers in the field that knows this track. Raced in British Formula Ford for 2 years. Raced British F3, I'd forgotten that. I was reminded by David Addison this morning. And so he knows the track. Now, Huff having a little wriggle there. Was the dust there from him kicking it up on the exit of McLean's as they come through Coppice, double apex right-hander, and Matt, foot to the boards all the way from the turn into McLean's pretty much as you rush all the way down the straight. And here comes the Volvo once more, looking back from Poulsen. It's a battle for 8th place. Of course, in the old system, this would be the battle for pole for race 2. And this is why we quite enjoyed the reverse 8, because it used to give us so many good battles.
Discretion was the better part of Valor then. He almost had a look at his inside, but Poulsen knows he's going to be good on the braking because he's seen him out of another couple into the...
and look at Nukia.
Here we go. If he can just drop it on the back of the Seat, he's got it. Yep.
Goes up behind Nukia. Poulsen tries to turn in tight, can't. So he's on the outside. The BMW's now on the left door of the Volvo. And Dahlgren's got a little bit of advantage.
Turks is going to do him.
All the way around the outside. Well, Turks is behind Poulsen, though.
Yeah, he's trying to give him a piece of his own medicine there.
Yeah, good battle. And right behind them, Daryl O'Young now having a sniff. Nukia in that yellow Seat is the cork in the bottle. Little contact between the Volvo and the BMW. And around the outside, Poulsen's being very brave into Redgate and tucked up underneath the back bumper of the Seat. Yeah, you go on the inside line, but the BMW had the wider run round the corner, got on the power early, and through Hollywood, it is still Nukia in 7th, the yellow car, then Poulsen.
Oh, some good racing.
Yes, fantastic stuff. Top 3 is still Miller, Huff and Menu. Coronel still ahead of Tarquini and Engsler. This is where the battle is. And this is why we love Donington Park so much, Matt. Water on the camera lens. Oh dear.
Poulsen's covering that inside line. He's watching. He's got a hard job at the moment. He's sure he wants to press on, but if he makes one mistake or one door open, Dahlgren's going to be straight in there.
So look at this now. Here comes Dahlgren. There's contact. He's on the back of the BMW. He rode up the BMW and couldn't come off. And that's a puncture surely for Poulsen as well. Bodywork is rubbing. And Dahlgren's got something chattering away at the front of the car. Wow. Now, you sometimes see cars bounce into the air after contact. You rarely see one hook up on the back of a car like a tow truck.
It was like a Formula car, wasn't it?
It was. So it is still the yellow car of Nukia in 7th. Poulsen has been passed by Turkington for 8th. So Poulsen is 9th, and Daryl O'Young. Nicholas was lunging down the inside for 9th place and didn't make it. They were being caught by Freddie Bart, Norbert Mikulis in that group. Daryl O'Young is there. He's gone by Dahlgren. Dahlgren's car looks to be okay. Probably not turning the way he wants it to. Inside him comes Freddie Bart.
He was obviously shaken, not stirred on that one.
Yeah.
Figuring out it all worked, so let's have another crack.
Turkington up into 8th place and attacking Nukia's yellow car now. So massive drama, and Norbert Mikulis has rejoined after that spin. Here's our top 3. Muller, Huff and Menu. Mikulis is in the pits and out of race 1. Underneath the flight path from East Midlands Airport as departing holidaymakers take off. The battles rage up and down the order here. Darrell Young's gone off on the exit of the old hairpin through Swans Curve. He tries to come back on. Dahlgren goes by. Freddie Bart goes by. Still a couple of spots of water there, but no major rain. And that... Oh, no, Young gets clattered into by Mehdi Banani, and that was really clumsy by the Moroccan driver. It just rattled up the inside. And so it's Turkington off on the outside.
Is it Turks?
Yes, that's Turks. He's come right from the barriers. Let's have a look. Oh, and he just gets crossed up in the middle of McLean's. And I think maybe he had to jump on the brakes in the middle of McLean's there, Matt.
I'm not sure.
Well, this is before now. This is down at the hairpin. Yeah, well, he was on the grass on the inside, and as we know from the rain, there's no grip there.
That was very, very self-induced. No one to blame there.
No, smoked him up. And we talked about this in qualifying, didn't it? Going downhill into the hairpin there, it just begs you to go in later than you actually can, doesn't it? And he got, he heard the calling and he went in. Muller, Huff, Menu, 1, 2 and 3 after 7 of our 13 laps, so we're barely at mid-distance. And let's have a look here. What happens? Well, Young gets clattered by Banani, but that was...
I think Young was getting into the back
trying to close the door a bit. Yeah. But how did Turkington go off? We didn't see it in that shot either. It just looked like the car broke away from him, and that's water somewhere on the track. Is it raining again over there?
Not
that down at the Melbourne Loop? So, well, this camera has got moisture on it from something. Matt James in the booth with us here. What you seeing? Anything? Nothing? No, me neither. Strange. Okay, well, we'll call the rain back off again then. Down the Craners comes Yukinori Taniguchi. There's Robert Dahlgren. Volvo in 9th.
Here we go, gets on the curve. Oh!
Just hooked up on Paulson's wheel arch extension. That is the single bizarrest thing I've seen in touring car racing in a long while. Well, since Alton Park. Robert Dahlgren's the cover. I know, that was definitely below the belt. Norbert Michaelis. Now, there wasn't any contact then. I wonder he's got problems. We've got water on our commentary box window. The first time in about 5 years, having a commentary box window has been a useful thing for us. And we're above the pits, and we are in the wind, so it's blowing in, and it's coming from the Redgate area down at the Melbourne Loop. Looking here at Tarquini. He's now down in 5th place after Coronel has started easing away, and he's got to worry about Engstler. Engstler, the independent points leader, race leader at the moment, but not points leader. So he's really got to concentrate on finishing the race to retake the lead from the man who's in the pit lane. Javi Veer's also in the pit lane as well. He's come in and gone back out from 17th.
How did Coronel get past Tarquini?
We didn't see it. We didn't see it. After about lap 3, he was coming down the straight towards us.
A bit about braking yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
From both of them, yeah. And straight up the inside went Banani. That put him into 10th by Bart and O'Young. And that's writing faster than anybody has a need to write, I think, because there's too much going on. And here again, down the Craner curves, Pepe Oriola and Yukinori Taniguchi. It's not a place to get wheel-to-wheel. Turkington is struggling a little here, isn't he? He's got by those two, but he's in 13th place. On the race 2 grid, though, he has another opportunity to try and set the score straight, as he will start in 6th position, Colin Turkington, and try and get a good result out of that one. He'll be in front of the Chevys.
Yeah, we're at a point in the race now where the brakes are going to start becoming a factor. Donington is one of the toughest circuits there. I think that was almost might be a little bit self-induced.
Okay, we're on board with Turkington. Yeah, and there's contact there, and the rear wheels get onto the grass. He's trying to just get out of that move, and it snaps sideways on him. And there are spots of water here again on the camera lens. It's not raining heavily. Nobody's got umbrellas up in the grandstands, God bless them. So it's not that wet. Muller leading from Huff, the gap yet to go out even to a second. So Muller knows, although he's not being challenged at every corner with a car alongside him, he knows he's got to mind his P's and Q's, Matt. And as the leader, you're always the first man to get to the water, aren't you? You're the first man into every corner to find out there's not enough grip and go off. You know, I know.
You gave me a heart attack then.
I was meaning to make you jump. But that's what happens, isn't it? You know, you're the man under pressure. The guy that's following a second behind has got another second to react once you're starting to go off.
Absolutely, and Huffy knows if he keeps the pressure on Ivan, only it's one slip. Oh, that's a big moment down through there.
It is twitchy. And we talked about this in qualifying when things were drying up because of the avgas that comes off the airport, off the planes taking off. This is a track that gets very greasy very fast. The moment there's a sprinkling of water on, it gets slick and it becomes a real skid pan. And the BMWs are finding that at the moment. I think this is, again, Nukia versus Poulsen, our two Danes, joined by a very short piece of elastic.
But also, Martin, I mean, typically touring cars use every piece of tarmac and more some. And you see that they'll use all the curbs, and you see around the curbs there's bits of worn away grass and dirt and everything, because they're just using every inch they possibly can. Suddenly those areas in this weekend have become ultra slippy, much more so with the grass still wet from previous sessions. So they are having to be very tidy, inch perfect with each corner they take.
Okay, now we're seeing a replay of the start. What are we expecting to see? This is Coronel going by Young, Engstler, Tarquini going around the outside.
Oh, there's a good bit of rub in there.
Yeah, well, you know, 3 into 1, they were always going to be very close.
I thought Menu had got Huffy then. Yeah. If he could have held him around the outside.
But Huff had the inside line down the first part, and Turkington was just, well, there was nowhere to go. That was Montero on board with Turkington. Coronel coming by on the left. I think it may have been
helped there.
May have been, well, there was no question he drove off that way on purpose. May well have been Coronel. Car number 25 and 9 under investigation, and it is raining a bit more. That's Mehdi Benani and Daryl O'Young.
Yeah, the camera's not picking it up, but it is a good steady drizzle over literally in Redgate, turn 1.
Montero has been out and come back in again.
Lap times are still very low though, so.
On 37s, people are doing at the moment. Nobody doing quicker first sectors of the race at the moment. And wipers on Christian Poulsen's car. This is Yukinori Taniguchi and Alexei Dudicalo, who has for the first time got a 1.6-litre turbo engine in his Lukoil Seat, same as teammate Gabriele Tarquini and all the others now in the Seat camp. The wipers are on. Nukia, Poulsen, Dahlgren. This is our Scandinavian shuffle for 7th, 8th and 9th. Dahlgren's back up with them again. I notice that there's no investigation of Dahlgren's car trying to ambitiously mount the BMW of Engstler. That was seen as a racing incident, and I think rightly so. You never try and take somebody off by landing on their boot lid anyway. It would be a first. It's a novel tactic, but not one that I think anybody would try and replicate. There's definitely spitting with water everywhere, and Matt, that means that it is going to be very slick indeed, and so this really puts a premium on supreme car control now.
Oh, we want a bit more rain at the end. Let's load it up the last 2 laps to go.
Well, Taniguchi being shuffled off there by Dudicalo. And losing a place too. Who shot through there? Was that Oriola going by both of them? And Taniguchi then with the water and dirt on the tyres, not helping him.
Huff's keeping the pressure up.
Yeah, closer than ever now, Rob Huff. Really pushing. Because he knows that Ivan is going to be close to the limit in tyres, in brakes, as Rob himself is. But when you're pushing from behind, you want to force the error out of the leader.
If he can just get him to outbrake himself at one point on the circuit, then he can go through. And as you say, Ivan's going to be the first one to find the conditions. The conditions are changing every lap.
Look at what's happening. They have dramatically left. Huffy, they've dramatically left Menu behind, and Coronel is closing in on the Swiss. Could there be a change for third? If it gets wetter, I doubt the BMW has got the traction to do much about it. Down to the Melbourne hairpin on lap 12 of 13. Last time round will be last time round next time. So Huff really piling on the pressure. And Nukia, Poulsen and Dahlgren. Poulsen trying to go the outside around Koppis. That's quite a long way, so he cuts to the inside, and how did that end up? Don't know. Come on, give us a clue. Muller, Huff, and then Menu, 2.7 seconds behind Huff now. Coronel is in trouble. Where's he gone? He's now got Engstler alongside him for 5th position. No, he's recovered. So Coronel made a mistake. I don't want to see replays. We're in the middle of a race.
5 seconds off the leaders were on that last lap, so it just shows how wet it is out there.
Debris in the track as well. Muller gives it an avoiding miss and collects it all. Okay, and this is coming out of Goddard's.
Ooh.
Spin there for Mehdi Benani, and this is where he gets drilled a little bit by Turks, but also he's trying to gas it up as well, so that doesn't help much. Turkington found the line out of Goddard's last lap then.
If Muller keeps this clean, he should have it under control.
Yeah, this would not be a good place for Ivan Muller to drop the car. You can see how much more pedestrian they look, though, here. They don't. It looks like they're in a slowing down lap.
Still, they've got the last corner to go yet, Martin, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm not here. Last lap lunge. Melbourne Hairpin is a classic last lap lunge place.
It is, because it's a corner.
Huffy had a lunge there as well, didn't he, into the Fogarty's S's? And that gives Muller perhaps the break he needs to win the race, because he's not under pressure now as he comes down into the Melbourne hairpin, and Huff will have to do something spectacular to try and put him under pressure into Goddard's the final corner, but it's wetter now than it was last time they got here. Muller goes in late and turns in to take a late apex there as he comes out to the checkered flag. It's victory for Ivan Muller, second place for Rob Huff, and third place to complete the Chevrolet sweep of the podium is Alain Menu. Well, Huff was all arms and elbows in the Foggy's S's for the last time. Fourth Coronel, fifth Tarquini, Engsler top independent in sixth position ahead of the Scandinavian battle, which has got Nukia from Dahlgren from Poulsen. The BMW couldn't find the traction on the last lap to stay with the front drive cars, so he slips to ninth place. Well, Huffy really pushed on that last lap, didn't he? And he was really attacking into the Foggy's S's, and that, in the end, was his final hurrah, because he gave Muller enough of a gap there with that late braking error to take the checkered flag quite safely. So, Caroline Menu and Justine, Ivan Muller's girlfriend, both looking happy with that. And of course, their family's here, the Huff family here as well. And plenty of action to watch in race one. A really dramatic touring car encounter right the way down the field from start to finish. Race winner and poleman Ivan Muller comes into Parc Ferme ahead of teammate Rob Huff, who finished in second, and Alain Menu third on the grid to third in the order. Well, if you say it like that, it sounds like a fairly tedious race. However, it was anything but. Even between the top three, it was pretty exciting, and from there on down, it was a proper classic Donington touring car encounter. Yeah,
I think if they gave an entertainment award out, it definitely should go to Robert Dahlgren. He was he was spectacular, especially in the first half of the race. But those Chevy boys, as you say, the result doesn't sound entertaining, but it was nail-biting stuff all the way, just with the changeable conditions and the pressure each of them were putting the others under. That was a good race.
Sorry I made it difficult for you, but well deserved.
It was well deserved. It was hard fought, wasn't it? I mean, you know, positions didn't change. They didn't spend a lot of time wheel to wheel. But you know yourself, Matt, the pressure you're under when you're the race leader and conditions change, it puts an entirely different aspect onto it, you know?
And we saw the first corners, a nice little bit of rubbing going on between them, and then there's Huffy held Menu out down through Craner, and, you know, they don't want to give any quarter. The cars are even, which is the problem, which you've said, but yeah, they are going to fight, which is great, which is what we want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And the team, you know, want to let them, because, you know, anytime you instate championship, instate team orders, then you affect the championship. You materially affect drivers that you're hiring to try and win the championship for you. You affect their ability to do it, you know. So last year, in the end, putting BMW's eggs in the Augusto Farfus basket early on in the season really didn't work for them. It came back and bit them, because Farfus over the long run of the season was not the best BMW driver. But Chevrolet are going to avoid that. Duncan, Ivan Muller's engineer, looking an awful lot happier than he was after race 2 in Porto.
The one I was disappointed with then was, after a spectacular start, first lap, was Tarquini's progress, or the fight he was able to put up. And I don't know whether, you know, obviously it's car related, because Gabrielli knows the track well and he'd have been able to fight, but I was hoping he was going to give the Chevys a harder time.
Well, let's see how our winner thought that race went. Louise is with Ivan.
Ivan Muller, congratulations. How was that?
It was tough, because with the condition didn't help. Then Fabiani on the middle of the way, so that disturbed a lot the race. Plus, on the end, Rob tried to cut the chicane again, so I was a bit worried until the end. But no, I think my car was the best car on the track today.
Thank you.
Well, if the Alton Park reference was unnecessary, so too was that Rob tried to cut the chicane again. You know, it's all politics, isn't it? It's all just, you know, leveraging your viewpoint into the public eye. Rob was trying to pass him, braked as late as he dared. In the end, it was a fraction too late. There was clearly no intention to go straight over the chicane, a la Toka Race Driver 2, and take the lead. He just misjudged the braking in slippery conditions.
It's the old psychological chipping away at your teammate, isn't it? So it's good. I think it's brilliant.
Well, it is, and it's all part of the game. And Rob will just laugh it off. He's like, yeah, of course he'd say that, you know. But you know, we've seen Ivan sit there in press conferences for years, having won the race, and complain about how the other cars are faster than his. So you know, it's there's a touch of the mantle going on there as well. You know, you've got to get the message across when you've got the opportunity to, and then try and wear your teammates down in any way you can, with speed and with guile as well. Muller then our race winner from Huff, Menu and Coronel. Tarquini in 5th position, and maybe it was just a balance of power. When conditions were dry enough, Coronel got by him, and it didn't get wet enough fast enough for Tarquini to be able to get by. He was only 6/10 behind Tom at the line, just not quite enough to get himself back up into 4th place. Independent battle. Boy, there was some excitement there, wasn't there? Engsler was the best of them in 6th, ahead of Nukia, then Paulson, Turkington, O'Young, Oriola, Bart, and the rest of them. So some pretty entertaining stuff. And as you say, yeah, Robert Dahlgren up and down the order like the Assyrian Empire, but no shortage of commitment from the driver. The track he knows well, unlike most that he's going to this year. And no shortage of power and grip from the car either. It's got a good engine and a good chassis too.
One interesting fact, Martin, is bar the 3 Chevys, he set the 4th fastest time of the race, a lap time. So shows the speed that they've got out of that Volvo now.
And now I'm going to say what everybody else at home is thinking, and just think what might have happened if Jimmy Thompson had been in one as well. They might have got a car onto the podium.
Yeah, we shouldn't doubt Robert Dahlgren's ability and all the rest of it. But Jimmy does have home knowledge.
He's got much more recent knowledge in front-wheel drive touring cars of Donington, which of course Robert didn't when he raced here. It was in Formula Ford and Formula 3, which is, you know, a different kettle of fish. He knows enough to move the setup along, but having 2 cars trying different things, as you know, when you and Flash are testing, you'll do different things. When you're in free practice, you'll do different things and then choose the elements that work best on from the 2 cars, and it would just have helped them move along nicely, I think. However, he had a very entertaining race all the same. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty there for Volvo to feel very happy with in that car.
Yeah, he did, and he set that time in heavy traffic. So, you know, he didn't have clear air like the Chevys had out the front. That was spectacular, wasn't it?
And he set that lap time after mounting the back of the car there as well. So, yeah, it obviously didn't do that much damage. Entertaining race 1. We'll wait for our top 3 and hear from our podium finishers in just a minute. On the podium in 3rd place is Chevrolet's Aluminium. On the podium in 2nd place at home in the UK at Donington Park, a track he knows well, is our championship leader. And, well, there's not one of these guys that can't drive their way around Donington Park in the fog, in the rain, in the dark. Ivan Muller, our race winner. Ray Mallock's up from RML at Wellingborough for this weekend. There's Peter Huff, Rob's dad. And joining them on the grid, on the podium, Franz Engsler. And here is the winner's anthem.
And now, the national anthem of the winning manufacturer. Now, to make the presentation to the 3rd page finisher, Mr. Alan Gow, Chairman of the Motorsports Association.
And also the head of the FIA Touring Car Bureau, Alan Gow. runs the British Touring Car Championship, has for many years as well. The voice in the background, of course, will be very familiar to all British motor racing fans.
Is there any organisation Gale isn't the head of these days?
Yeah, not the Mini 7 Owners Club. He's presented the prizes, Alan, who of course has presented prizes to all these guys in British Touring Cars, and to Yvonne and Alain both as champions in their own time in BTCC. The voice is that of the ledge that is Ian Titchmarsh. So the manufacturer's trophy goes to Ray Mallock.
Next we have
Kevin Wheatcroft hanging the trophies out there.
Yes, Kevin Wheatcroft's on the late Tom Wheatcroft handing out the trophy, and our Yokohama trophy goes to Franz Engsler. Dave Seward from Yokohama Tyres UK, and on the right hand side of the picture, Fabio Fabiani, our J10 winner, who receives his trophy as well. He is now the last man in the field resisting the urge to convert to a 1.6 litre turbo engine.
Hold their trophies up, get together in the middle of the podium, to the front of the podium. So otherwise we will be that visible. Thanks guys, thanks very much to get to the front of the podium.
So our top three, as we've seen a couple of times already this season, all Chevrolet drivers, Muller, Huff and Menu, top three in qualifying, fastest men in qualifying, top three on the grid. And they held their positions at the front of the race. No requirement from Ray Mallock there, or from Ron, or from anyone else in the team to do so. Just the man who was fastest in qualifying managed to hold off his teammates, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, but touch and go at the end. It's the second race I'm looking forward to, because you've got Tarquini, you've got some other quick boys all in front of them. So it's going to be, it's how they negotiate them. The staying race, out of trouble is going to be the trick bit.
Okay, gap comes down now to 22 points between Muller and Huff. Menu goes 3 points further away from Huffy, though. He's now in third place in the championship, 63 points behind rather than just 60. And just like to say a quick hello to another former British Touring Car champion, John Cleland. John, not point texting during the race, this fella. We were quite busy with that. We'll have a look and see what he says after that. Colin Turkington in the points for the first time, at least at the moment, until his little move with Pepe Oriola is reviewed. Again, maybe he might find himself pushed a little further down the grid. But race two, yeah, Tom Coronel will be on pole. The stopper in the bottle in race one, that was Michel Nukia, starts second from Javi Villa. Now he'll now be penalised, of course, won't he? So he'll drop further back. So it'll be Montero third, Engsler fourth, Turkington fifth, O'Young sixth, Menu, Huff, Muller, and Tarquini will be. I think Tarquini will be on pole, won't he? Coronel second. Yeah, Tarquini will be on pole, Coronel second, Nukia third. So, yeah, the Chevy boys will start 10th, 9th, and 8th, with Muller, Huff, and Menu 10th, 9th, and 8th. So Muller will be the last of the top 10, and Tarquini will start on pole. Now let's hear from our race winner.
It wasn't as wet as we expected, but how did you deal with those changing conditions, especially as you were the first man to experience them?
Yeah, and especially the track was not on the same condition everywhere. You know, the first part was dry, the second part was quite wet, especially the turn 8, and then the last two corners again. So, and the track was very changeable all the way through. Plus Fabiani in the middle of everything, so it was enough complicated for that race.
It seemed that you were unchallenged, but tell us about those last few laps.
It was a big challenge in the car, I tell you, because on this condition, on the slick tire, on damp condition like it was the end of the race, it's very easy to do a mistake, and so that's why I took some safety on some braking, and I was pushing on the part where the track was dry, where I was much faster than Rob, so I could do a gap.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the first corner is always going to be entertaining when you've got three teammates trying to get through in one piece and try and prevent anybody else interrupting the party. They just managed it. Second place in the end, Rob Huff, the points leader.
Rob Huff, second place for you. How about that last-minute lunge? We saw the moment. Was it where you were pushing too hard, or the slippery conditions?
It wasn't really a lunge as such, more of a mistake than anything. Just as Ivan said, the conditions were changing all the time, and that was where I was just a little bit quicker. Ivan was quicker through 7 and 8 than me, but I could make it back through the chicane, and I saw he braked a little bit early, so I thought I'd brake a little bit later. Just touched the white line, and it was still just a little bit greasy. Just put the car a bit sideways, and obviously just slowed down, put it in second gear, went through the gravel, and came back out the other side again. But it was a difficult race, changing conditions all the way through, but just didn't quite have the speed there today to catch a van.
Looking back at the start, tell us about that.
Yeah, I was obviously on the outside. I had to be wary because I knew Alain's obviously in a very quick car in third, and he was up the inside. I was obviously trying to go around the outside of Ivan. He braked really very late and needed to use all the track, so I couldn't accelerate. That obviously allowed Alain to come up the inside, but just kept it flat out around the outside of him down the crane, as that gave him the inside for the left. And on the first lap down there, you've got to be careful. You're not going to be going around the outside down there, so I knew that I'd get the second position back, and then just tried my hardest to keep with Ivan. Lap 2, 3 and 4 were good for me, but then after that just kept making a few mistakes and dropping back a bit.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Didn't look like he was too far behind as the rain arrived. He was really piling on the pressure to try and force something special. In the end, the mistake came from the chaser, not from the hunted. And in third place with a great view was Alain Menu.
Alain Menu, we've heard from Rob about the start. How was that for you?
Yeah, like Rob said, Ivan had to use the whole of the turn 1, so I had a run on Rob through the corner on the exit, but I don't know, he had very good speed and he was catching me up through the right-hander, and like he said, you know, it's very risky to try to go flat out through on the outside of the left-hander there, so I had to back off. And then the first 2 laps I had to keep an eye on Gabriele Tarquini, because we were fighting so much that first lap. We got all bunched up. And then they pulled away a little bit, and then I could kind of keep the gap, but I just didn't quite have the speed. And then when it started to drizzle, I had nothing to gain, I had more to lose, so I backed off a bit more just to be safe and keep that third place.
For race 2, you're starting a bit further back, all 3 of you are, so what's possible?
It will be tough because looking in the mirror, Tom Coronel was quite quick behind me, I thought, so he starts on pole, so he's got a good chance to do really well. I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I'm not too happy with the handling of the car, so we need to change something, I think, especially when we fight together.
Thank you.
Well, plenty of work for John Waterman to be doing then in between the races with Alain Menu, thinking about what changes they can and can't make in the 15 minutes. Of course, the baby might go out with the bathwater if it rains in between times and there's a wet start for race 2. But we'll have to, language, Timothy, we will have to wait and see what race 2 brings us. In the Yokohama Trophy, Christian Poulsen on top now, gets in front of Norbert Mikulis by a point. Javi Villa third, Daola Young and Michel Nukia ahead of Franz Engstler. Look at that, top 5, 6 was that, covered by just 18 points. Very, very close. And again, we are only into race 13 of 24, so an awful lot of racing yet remains. Colin Turkington scoring points in that as well. His first time out this year. Good lad. That's what we like to see. Doesn't matter if it's cold, windy and raining. There's an ice cream van. You've got to have a 99, Matt, haven't you?
It's a good picture, isn't it?
Great picture. And as the ice cream king of British touring car racing, you probably eat more ice creams, I think, than any man I've ever known. Here is the manufacturer standings with that battle between BMW and Seat just teaching. Look, 2 points in it, and again BMW just creeping back in front. Chevrolet running away towards the manufacturer's crown.